and said, "Good luck, Sue," but I don't have my glasses on, and I read it, "Good luck, Sarah."
Well, she might be talking to Sue, who said,
and I was
off and running, already made my first mess. So she might be, she's talking to Sue.
And I was thinking, I could use a little good luck since this is so new. So we're starting a few minutes early because I just wanted to give the people who are here and waiting a couple of minutes to ask questions. Make sure you have what you need around you if you're planning on painting today. And then I will officially start in a couple of minutes. So, but I have, as I was making the post for today, I kept thinking of things that so an extra piece of paper, because I do want to take a few minutes to do some sample, play stuff. And then, I have my paper taped out. I have a ruler, which we're going to use for laying out the drawing. And then, other than that, brushes, clean water, and my palette. Does anybody have any concerns or questions?
Not yet, but
that's good.
We have a little delay, so.
Yes, that's true.
Do watercolor paints the quality of the actual paint set? Are you going to get more vibrant colors with one set than another, possibly?
Yes.
Okay.
So
how do you know what's good quality?
What I'm using and what I linked is not it's not the best quality, but they work. It's hard. It would be hard to really tell the difference.
Okay.
But if you do get into it, what I used when I was painting watercolors, all in my 20s and 30s, was you buy in a tube, and you squeeze out paint like you would oil paints.
I didn't even know that existed.
But you squeeze out the tube, but then they dry like these are dry, and then you can just add water and keep using them.
Okay.
Whereas something like acrylic paints, you squeeze it out of the tube. If it dries, that's it.
Okay.
So we can get into more quality brushes, paints, paper. I actually went to the art store today because I was painting on kind of crappy 90-pound paper. It's not terrible. It's what I did my samples on. But I went and got 140-pound paper.
Okay.
When I was doing my big paintings, I used 300-pound paper, which is just the best because it can take a lot. Okay.
Someone's asking, how do you place the plastic paint holders? I guess what's your setup in the little paint kit?
It just came this way. Is that what they mean? These?
Maybe.
I just stuck them like little wings.
Okay.
This is just the way this came. I believe this is the one we have linked on our Goods and Faves page. But any little set that you got, you're going to be able to do this. But you do want to have some kind of tray area for mixing colors. So if you don't have that, I'd say one of your a plate would be fine.
Is that supposed to be a little water dish?
I don't know, and I don't know what this is either.
A couple people have said reference image.
The reference image is I linked it a couple of minutes ago. It's on the Facebook page. It's on the Serafina Fiber Art Facebook page. And if you're able to print it out while you're sitting here, great. If not, you'll need to have it open in another tab.
I'll link that page.
Link it
in
again.
The chat.
Mm-hmm. I shared it a couple of days ago, and then I shared it this morning, and then I just linked it in our chat. So welcome to the participants who are not a part of our felting group and have joined us for the painting. I'm excited to give this a go, and I created a group. Talbot helped me name it. It's called Sara Renzulli's Paint Puddle. It's a private group. So I just was working on it right before we went live, but I did want to get it going so that I could announce it because I really want to see what you guys do today. And if you can join the group, then that's where we can share our like a photograph of what we did today, ask questions. I'm happy to do constructive critiques. Learning to critique our paintings is it's a important thing to do and a fun thing to do. And I don't know yet how I have the group set up exactly. It is private, so it's not only members can see the content. But I have not done any settings yet as far as how to join.
Yeah, it looks like I was able to just join.
I joined you.
Oh, you joined me?
Well, I invited you, I should say. So if you're looking for that, or you do it immediately after the video, it might take a day or two to get that going. So I am going to work. It's approximately 8 by 10, and Talbot, if we can get the overhead going, I'm pretty much ready to start some demo stuff.
Would you like me to share the Paint Puddle group?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, but like I said,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure yet how joining goes. I taped my paper down. This is a 9 by 12. I taped it down slightly bigger than 8 by 10 so that if I do paint right up to the tape and then it were a masterpiece and I wanted to frame it in a ready-made frame, the paint, the composition would be sure to go beyond the 8 by 10 space. If you are painting something like 5 by 7, 8 by 10, and with the idea to frame it or give it away, and you tape right up to that measurement, then you run the risk of a little white area around the edge that doesn't catch into the lip of the frame. Probably not, because the measurement is the opening and it does have a little lip, but I just give myself some extra space. If you have not stretched your watercolor paper, it's a helpful thing to do. Depending on what you're working on, the lighter weight papers will bubble more, but with what we're working on today, it shouldn't be a problem. If you wanted to stretch your paper right now, you can tape it down, and then I use a spray bottle and then a brush to brush it around. But what'll happen is it'll bubble. I mean, not like crazy. It'll get wavy, and then it'll dry flat. And then when we work wet, it won't bubble again. So it's just a step. And that's why when you see in stores, they sell something called a watercolor block, which have become ridiculously expensive. This size, 20 sheets was $64. I don't understand why. But the watercolor blocks are sealed on all 4 sides. So it's like a pad, except it's sealed on all 4 sides, so that you can do that step without having to tape it down. If you don't have art tape or painter's tape, and you use something like Scotch tape or masking tape or electrical tape, just be aware that it might lift your paper on the edges. So definitely give yourself some room, because you might have some damaged edges. But if you did that right now, you have time to do that, because we're going to use a separate piece of paper, and I want to go over a few really simple watercolor techniques, and we can do it in about 5 or 10 minutes. Is anyone saying that they're stretching their watercolor paper? I just want to give people time to do it if they're doing it.
I'm asking.
Okay. So I'm going to move over just a little bit. And Talbot, you can remind me that I did that because I want to get this palette into the picture for a minute.
That looks great.
Yeah.
And I have the front facing the corner, so if you zoom in, it should still look
Awesome. Okay, so let's do a couple of, I'm going to zoom in to show you what we're going for here.
Can people practice on printer paper?
Yeah, it might not behave the same way. So just to, you can even rip off like half a piece of watercolor paper, or you don't have to use the whole thing. Because I was unfamiliar with this palette, I made a sample of each color. That just helps me see, because as you can see, our palette can become kind of dirty as you put your brush around in different things, and it can be hard to see how the color behaves when you're just looking at a dried up paint cake like that. But then I also played with the colors that we're going to use today. And then I wanted to show a few techniques how we can lift color back out. It's a little bit of a fix, an eraser, dropping into wet. This swath I let dry and then lifted, so you can see that you still can lift color away. This is dropping one color into another color. This is kind of a wash where I painted on one side and then had, with a clean brush, pulled the color away so that it has a gradient. This is a glaze. For all of these, I used this same green color. This is a glaze, and then I glazed the green with orange. So that just shows you what that does. And then this is a wet technique using a sponge. And if you don't have a sponge, this is a wet technique using your palm. So let's do a few of these things. And I like to have, when I paint, a paper towel and or a tissue in my hand, in my non-dominant hand, because I'm always dabbing the paintbrush off to get extra water off. So I'm going to take, I'm not sure what you guys have, but this is, well, let me do this one. This is one of my flat but slightly wider brushes. And I'm going to use this. My paint palette didn't have names, but I'm going to call it Viridian Green. I don't know what it is. It's just, if you don't have to use green, but use a nice dark color so that you can really see the effect that we're working on. So something in the dark green, dark blue, or dark purple family. And I'm gonna wet my paint down just with a wet brush. These brushes have they have water in them. You can put water in them. I find it a little hard to control, but it is nice to have the water in there if you need to make a paint puddle. Another option is a little dropper. Just grab some clean water and get some paint going. Okay, so on our scrap, this is my scrap piece of paper. It's sitting right over my real piece of paper. But I'm just going to paint a 2-inch, little 2-inch square. And let's go ahead and do another one. So we'll do 2 different things with these. And I'm getting quite a bit of paint on there. I want this pretty saturated. Now, I usually wipe off my brush, then swish it, and then wipe it again. And that should give you a very clean brush. It's helpful to wipe it off on the paper tissue first, get the excess off, then swish, then dab it again. So with a clean brush, you can do a lot of things. One of them is lift color back out. So let's say it's too dark, or I made a mistake, I went too far. I can take a clean brush, lift color, dab it off. Lift color and dab it off. So another option, if you really are trying to blot the whole thing out, is just attack it. You can even add clean water, and you can practically erase, especially the better the paper.
And it should be clear, this isn't like, you haven't started yet.
No, this is our little get to know our watercolors segment.
I just didn't want people to start making green squares.
No, they can make green squares.
Oh, okay.
But just I'm reminding that we're on our scrap paper. We are not on we're not on the paper that we're going to paint the fox on. In our other green square, let's take another color. So I'm going to wet down some orange. And I've got a pretty wet brush loaded up with orange, and I'm just going to drop it in. And you can see what that does. Something a little bit different. Kind of goes pew. So I wipe off my brush, swish it around. My colors in front of me are a lot more saturated than what it looks like on my video. Oh my gosh, I hope my battery lasts. If not, I'll be referring to you. Okay, and then let's do another green square. This one we're going to let dry. We're going to use it. We're going to use it to do our glaze. This is what's so cool about watercolor. You can just keep adding layers to deepen and change colors, and it gets darker and darker. And you try to leave your whites, whereas with oils, I usually start dark and then work up to lights. So little bit of a different process. I don't use white in watercolor. It's very chalky, so I let my paper be the white. And I'm also going to show you how to paint without using black, which I also find to be kind of like dead and chalky. All right, so we're letting this one dry. With a clean brush, let's do just a clear, just make a little wet clear square. And try dropping your green into that. And this is called wet on wet. And it's gonna have a lot different look than when you just paint, with your brush. The wet on wet just starts to...
Does the barrel of that paintbrush have water in it?
It does. I'm not using it though. I'm not squeezing it right now.
Okay.
I'm using the water from my little cup here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's do a paint, and then we're gonna pull with clean water. So I'm gonna paint about 1 inch by 2 inches, just across the top like that. Then I'm gonna clean my brush, swish it off, make sure it's clean, and then with a little bit of water on my brush, I'm gonna pull this down. And you can fade it away. So yeah, your clean brush is like, it's almost like having another tool. You can push paint around, you can change it, and it just dabbing, swishing, dabbing cleans your brush, and it's just good to do every so often. It helps keep things from getting muddy and messy and gives you a lot of control. Okay, let's make a green square. And we want, let's just pretend like this is bark on a tree, and we want some texture. I got this pretty watery, so I'm just going to give it a second before I stick my hand in it.
The camera's not picking up your fade quite as
Yeah, as it is in real person. Yeah, it looks like you can't even see the green. Mm-hmm. It just goes from green to white. Oh, yeah, that's a little bit better. I don't know. Yeah. Maybe if I zoom a little bit. Okay. So I want some texture in this square. So one of the things you could do is you can touch it with a crumpled up paper towel, or you can even hit it with the palm of your hand, but just make sure you clean off the palm of your hand, and that just breaks it up. It just makes it gives it more interest. So maybe when we're doing the background behind the fox, that's a technique we can use. Another way to do that is to use a sponge. Well, there's like a million ways to do it. So yeah, I hope you guys are playing with your paints, because it's a nice preparation for getting started. It gets you kind of in the mode and not attacking a white piece of paper out of nowhere. So this is a sea sponge, and I just dampened it to soften it, because like a regular sponge, it's firm when it's dry, and then you can dab that to lift paint and create texture. You can also dab it to add paint and create texture. And to clean it, I just dip the sponge in the water, wring it out, and then it's all clean. All right, this should be dry, so we can do our glaze. So this same orange, in the wet on wet, it kind of pushed the green away. So we have green and orange. Whereas with a glaze, I put a thin layer of orange over top. It's actually changing the color of the green. It's kind of saying, you're not green anymore. I don't know what you are, but blue and orange is a great way to make a gray. Let's do that real quick. I'm going to take, on mine, it's number 18. It's this third blue from the end here, but you can take any blue. And we'll see how the same orange looks on that. Usually makes a really nice gray. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put the orange in because we should get started. So I'm not gonna wait for it to dry. So this is a little wet on wet, not quite the same as a glaze, but still really, really pretty. So yeah, hopefully that starts to give you a little bit of familiarity with what you can do and how you can manipulate the paint. And we're ready to draw our fox. I'm trying to think, do I want to mix? So we can use, I have extra room here. So when you're painting, I think it's great to have an extra piece of watercolor paper to test colors. It's always great just to be able to, you know, smear them on there, see how they look, and then change them if you need to. All right, is everybody ready to draw?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, I think, watching. There's not a lot of chatter. Wish
Okay,
I had known
good.
about the wipe and dip technique years ago. I was always so frustrated with water causing the colors to get muddy.
Yeah,
Same.
I mean, it's almost even hard to convey because controlling the water that's on my brush became so just such a subconscious, is that the right word? Like I didn't have to think about it. It's just it's constantly it's kind of like drafting wool when we wrap. Like it just becomes a part of your creative process. This is why I have a little bit of a hard time with the I used these in a little class I did on a trip, and when I squeeze the water out, it's just a little hard to control how much water is there, because that's a big part of this. It's like adding turpentine to your oils, or you want that control. It's purposeful.
Someone did comment about not knowing, like dabbling with water paints, but not knowing how much water to use.
Yes.
And someone else said they did not know about stretching the paper.
Yeah, that's helpful
Neither
too.
did I.
Hey Talbot, I think if we turn this down just a little bit, it'll be a little less washed out. I'm going to draw darker than I normally do so that you guys can see. But generally with the watercolors, you want to keep your sketch on the light side because, thank you. I think it should be fine. Because the water kind of cements the graphite, and it can be hard to erase, which can be a whole look. But sketch lightly. You're going to see me sketching on the darker side. Is your thing blipping?
We had a couple of flicky blips.
Okay.
And we've gone creamer. Everything is more cream now with the light down.
Okay. I feel like it was a little blown out. We'll see if it's
bright.
easier to
We'll
to see. Okay. All right. I have some notes that I took here for my layout so that we can all be on the same page. Okay. We want so I printed out the reference picture, and I'd say I am not painting, it depends on your printer and how large you printed this, but I'm not painting a good portion of this. It's more like that is what I'm working with. So just keep that in mind. And I want to put my fox's butt about 2 inches from the left. And then I'm also going to make a 2-inch mark from the bottom. So just to give me an idea, like fox goes here. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to make this darker. I'm gonna draw the fox in a 4-inch square. So from this mark that I put at 2 inches, I'm going to go 4 inches. I'm going a little large because I just think it's going to be easier for you to see and easier for you to do the details. And then I'm going to go 4 inches from the bottom. And I'm going to draw my square.
I can see your marks.
You can? I can on mine. Maybe people can weigh in if they can't see.
I'm trying to adjust the hue so it's not so warm.
Okay.
Maybe it'll look a little better.
Okay.
But the lights above you are kind of yellow. So.
Okay. And then we want to divide our square in half both ways. So I'm going to go 2 inches, and you can make 2 measurements. I'm just eyeballing my, since this isn't a piece of architecture, I'm not too worried about my lines not being perfectly 90 degrees. You can see that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you tell it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're fine.
I don't know. Okay. The center of the fox is right through this light poof on him. So the head lives in the upper right square, but we're going to steal 1/4 of an inch from this center line to help us draw our head. So I'm going to measure 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to make another line. And like I said, I am drawing on the dark side. I mean, I'm using the force, but I'm pressing hard. So now we have a slight rectangle as our upper right section, and that is where we're going to put the fox's head. And I'm going to split that in half. It's splitting that in half both ways. That was a lot of lines, Sarah. This is like when I hand Talbot something and say, digitize this sketch, and it has like 20 lines on it. Is everybody doing okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
Seems like people
good.
can definitely see it.
The fox's eyes are just below the center line. Now, the fox in the image has a slight tip to the head. I'm ignoring that today. I just want you guys to have it as simple as possible. So we're just going straight on. But we can, another aid would be to make a diamond by connecting these edges. And then I'm going to draw the eyes just under that line, just little almond shapes. And I'm giving it about 1/8 of an inch, about 1/4 of an inch between the eyes. So about 1/8 of an inch from the center line. And then his ears come off of these angles here. One I'm going to let break through the, I'm letting it break through the top line of the square. And the other one fits, it's cocked just a little bit. It fits almost more inside the lines of the square. So that's a nice way to differentiate and not have it, way too symmetrical. And then our nose, let's see, coming off of the eyes, corner of the eyes, we want a slight angle out to these angled lines. So not straight down, slight angle out. And then we're going to round this shape out, and that's going to be the fox's muzzle. Now to help me see here, I'm going to go ahead and take out these strong lines, because at this point we got to get rid of them so that we can start to see what else we need.
It's like a bonobo monkey.
It looks crazy. Okay. So I want to angle my eyes just a little bit more. I have them kind of straight across, but they just have angled down a little bit.
Someone's asking to have the original print in the actual shot that you see
Yes.
right now. Is there a way to?
Yes.
I am assuming she
Definitely.
knows that.
Definitely. Good idea. Okay.
Sorry.
That's what? Is there something?
I accidentally hit the yellow. It's back.
Okay. So our nose is centered. It is not quite at the bottom of the face. We have a little bit of muzzle here and a little bit of chin. So I'm just suggesting it. I'm just making a little, like a little cup. I'm not super defining it. And then our cheeks, instead of following this line that we had, they come out and they kind of make a, go out to the edges of the square that we have here. And then his head is not, in fact, pointy, so we can get rid of that. Get rid of some of these other strong lines. And there's just a little angle to his neck going kind of up from the, we're calling this his right ear, their ear on the right side. So I'm indicating where the ear fuzz is. Okay. Now the rest of the fox fits into the rest of the boxes. And the boxes, you can even draw the template, the square onto the fox so that you can see where things line up. But like I said, this center line is where this light spot is. That's his belly. The sun's coming from the right. And so the center line is this light spot. And then his tail is centered right in this. Let's get rid of this because this is confusing. This is not the center line. This is the line that we drew to make the head. The tail is centered in the left side. It's just halfway above the horizontal line, and it comes around and it comes almost to the right side of the square. And I am letting it escape the square a little bit. Again, just we want it to be dynamic, not to be smushed into a box.
Nobody wants a fox in a box.
Nobody wants a fox in a box. And then the back of the box of the fox, same thing. You can let it escape the square a little bit and get the left side of his body here. We just see his feet just peeking out of this little corner of the tail. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of some of my other lines now. because these lines that were once helpful can become very confusing when you start to get your drawing in here. Oh, I really wish I could see everybody's stuff. And then he has a little bit of neck and chest. So his mask comes up like this, but he's got this dark, this white that's in shadow under his neck here. So I'm drawing that as an angled line, and it meets up with this line that we made, the extra line that we made, and this is his leg. So now I have to get rid of everything that is not a part of a fox. And hopefully you have an easier time than I have, because I really did draw dark. I feel like my eyes are a little bit too close together. It's better. Can I see what your screen looks like?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Can you see how mine is like?
It's totally like weighted out.
Okay. Okay, let's suggest we're going to call this the horizon line. It's where the snow meets the tree line. And it's kind of important to get this in the right spot because it provides a lot of contrast around the focal point, which is the fox's face. So it comes off just below the ear set. And you can make it irregular. Like, don't use your ruler and draw a line. Make it a bit irregular.
What kind of eraser is that?
Oh, this is called a kneaded eraser. If you get into drawing or painting, it's great because it doesn't create any debris. Oh. So it just erases the, you know how when you use a pencil eraser, there's schmutz. Yeah.
It's called a kneaded?
Kneaded, yes. Like bread kneaded.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I don't know why I picked that up. Well, I guess I'll keep it handy in case we want to refer to it. And other than that, some marks that we might want, I'm only going to leave 3 spots pure white. And that is this little white spot off the side of the mask, this white spot on the side of the muzzle, and some white space in the tip of the tail. So if you want to define those with your pencil, you can. I don't usually do it with my pencil. I usually just keep that in mind as I paint. But everything else is going to have some color to it, even the snow. And that puts really the emphasis right on the main part of the subject, which is the fox's face. So I am going to sketch his little hip bone here. And like I said, this is his furry belly. And then it just kind of gets dark down here. All right, we're ready to paint. Does anyone have a question or need to see anything before I start putting paint in here? Okay, I'm going to move over a little bit so that you guys can see my palette. I'll just zoom out a tiny bit.
Is it a soft pencil?
Today I am using number 2.
Regular.
A regular number 2 pencil, but yes, you would definitely want to use a softer pencil. You don't have to press as hard, and it lifts easier. Don't ask me what a soft pencil is. They all have numbers and letters, and it's been a while, so I forget. Okay. So the first thing that I would like to do is paint the background. And these are distant trees. It's really do not get over involved or invested in the background. We just ultimately want to get it dark with some texture. So to start, I'm going to get some clear water, and I'll just put it into this little tray that I have here. That'll make it real handy. And I'm going to paint the background with water, avoiding or following the lines of the fox. And the reason I want to get some water on here is so that when I go to put in a dark color, it has some movement. It can be very frustrating when you paint directly and then your edge dries and then you've got a hard line. So just wetting this down and just I'm just going around the fox top line here. And that's it. So I started with, I'm going to make a little puddle in this compartment, which, let me slide it down. Can you see it with the straight on still there?
I think maybe not.
Okay, sure. I'll slide it down more. So you can either use your dropper, or you can dip your wide brush into water and put, dab it and put the water. But I do want a nice little puddle. And I'm using this dark green. And to keep it from being too just green, I'm going to add this brown. I'm calling it number 11. It's in this corner over here. And you really got to get in there. It would help actually to wet or spray down your palette just to get some water going. Can you see it? Mm-hmm. Okay. So nice dark puddle and just lay it in there. Work quickly. It's going to follow that line that you made, that wet line, somewhat. In my other paintings, I kept not going all the way to the edge. I don't know why that makes sense to me, but do whatever you want. You can, I'm already out of water. That's how it goes. So I'm going to leave a little sky back there.
That's really nice. And the reference image just totally goes dark the whole way.
The reference image just goes dark the whole way, yeah. So I'm not too worried about what this looks like over here, but I'm just letting it fade away. Now, watercolors always dry lighter, but I do like to layer up color. I feel like when you try to just get as dark as you want to be first pass, it ends up like cakey and muddy. So while this is still wet, and I don't mind that there's light spots, like maybe those are little bits of snow or just some light coming through the trees. While this is still wet, I'm going to get more water in my puddle, and I'm going to use this dark blue. It's all the way at the bottom corner. It's number 20 in my sample set, and the brown. So just something a little different. Still warm, dark, and get this going in here.
It's coming across as very gray. It's definitely more green. At least on my.
Okay.
Now I see it on yours. Looks a little more green. So everyone's screens. Probably
look a little different.
Yeah.
Well, it's okay because this is kind of a non-color, even in the reference image.
You're just saying green, and it's dry
right,
and looking
right,
more gray. This
right.
next layer looks more green.
Yeah, you can go right up to the right side if you want to, but I'm just giving it a little space. All right, I'm gonna leave this and do some snow. Let that dry, then we can go back into it darker yet. Okay, with a new clean puddle, I have this little space over here. Get a good bit of water there, because now this time I'm not going to wet this down, because the shadows in the reference image, although they blur, they do have contained shapes to them. So trying to get this where you can see it. So to make the snow, I am going to mix 17 and 19. What did I do? This bright blue and this purple. And then later I'm going to tone it down with some orange. So this doesn't need to be as dark. I'm using 19 and 17. So this purple, that's 4 spaces out from the bottom, and the blue, that's the second space out from the bottom. And I'm going to start up by the horizon line. And again, it's okay to leave some white spots, like little bits of sunlight or bits of snow. And I'm just going to work with horizontal stripes with my brush. Make sure you don't go into your fox. You got to leave your fox white. And they do not have to match the picture. The only thing that I do want to make sure I have is some good shadowing right here next to the tail, so that this white part of the tail pops off. And underneath the face here, because that's a light area. So just to create some contrast. So try to be irregular. Try not to draw straight lines. You can give them little bumps. this part coming off of his hind foot, this is the cast shadow that the fox is making in the snow. So this one's pretty important to have there. And then I'd want a nice wide band across the bottom here. And you can see how when you go back over something, it gets darker. And you put that second wash on it. Oh my gosh, it's so quiet in here. Isn't it?
There's no heat running.
No, it's like super quiet. We don't even know what's making these shadows, but they are cast shadows on the snow. Maybe there's some trees over here. Everybody doing okay? Holding up to the stress? To this demanding process? It's quiet and my coffee is cold.
Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's no needle poking.
That's
Normally
true.
you're felting and there's... I could do that over here.
Darn silent brushes.
Every time you brush, I could go...
That would be funny. I want, like animation sound effects. Kapow! Okay. You guys are quiet.
Yes,
Okay.
they're all mesmerized.
I mean, you're either painting or waiting for the next thing. So let's put another dark layer in the background. And this time, one little trick that I like is to leave random empty spots that sort of look like trees, so it looks like dark behind it, and then the random empty spots are tree trunks. Another way to do it would be to make it all super dark and then lift the color out, but I'll try to work kind of extra dark so you can see what I'm talking about here. Let me try this fancy brush. I don't know what this one is. So we just want to think like shadowy, and do the blue and the brown, which still makes a rather warm color. I could add some purple. The blue and the brown is it's almost making the green that is just the green. So let's add 18, which is this like more purpley violet blue. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's definitely shadowy. So I'm getting real dark in here. Oh, this brush is fun. It's got this nice point to it. It's so smooth, I'm forgetting to make lines. Just wants to paint. So another thing I could do is I could wet my sponge and just bop out a little bit of texture. just have fun with it. It's just got to be dark and kind of shapeless. And you could even get some pure color. Like I just grabbed some brown and just dropped brown in so that you have a little bit of variation so it's not all the same color. Oh, this brush is crazy. I don't even know how to handle it. So I hope everybody's holding up well to the holiday season. It's definitely a mixed bag. I'm always optimistic that it's going to be only light and joy, but it does feel a little bit like a bit of a hustle and maybe spotlight on some things that we're missing. So this is my way of zoning out and finding good space. All right. Can mess with that more later. Can always go back. Can always add more color, lift color. I have a couple of hard lines that I'm going to want to soften because I really want that to disappear. Things in the distance have less contrast and less definition and less pure color. It's a more atmospheric color. That's how you make things recede. Before we go back into the snow, which we will do because it's looking a little vivid, let's get some colors into our fox, and then we're going to start to see how everything relates to each other and know what we need in terms of more contrast and details. So to start on the fox, I'm going to paint the entire thing except for those 3 white spaces that we defined with some yellow ochre, and I'm calling this cadmium yellow. It's the
Would you like me to get that?
I think I'll be fine. I'm just trying to figure out where to put this that everybody can see what I'm doing. Maybe it can live. I don't know if it's going to tip too much like that. So we have white, and I honestly, I didn't even see it when I started numbering my palette. So yellow ochre is 1, and then this cadmium yellow is 2 spaces away from it. So I want to make a nice puddle with those. Oh, here's another thing you can do. You can spritz your wash, and the water will like push the color away. This got a little bit dry, so it didn't totally do it. But that can add some randomness. And we also, someone had asked about salt. I don't have salt with me, but you can sprinkle salt on, and that also, it sucks the color up, and so it leaves white spots. So I just sprayed that on there. It didn't quite work, but if I dab it, because it was clean water, if I dab it, it's going to lift color off. Okay. New paint puddle. Just going to go in the middle over here. And, oh brother, the tip isn't working. Just want to get this closer to. Lots of yellow ochre. I'm using a slightly smaller brush for control. It's not like a tiny tippy one though. It's still flat, about 1/4 inch wide. Okay. So on the head, we're going to paint the whole thing in. I mean, I can leave the eyes, but because everything is going to be darker than this color, I can pretty much paint everywhere except for, I'm going to leave, don't do the neck, do the muzzle and the mask. I guess that's the smart way to go. And then with a clean brush, I just want to lift, it's a little saturated, so I'm just going to lift a little bit of color off where the sun's hitting his forehead here. And then we're going to come over here and get this whole thing. Like I said, I'm going to leave the white of his neck. This chestnutty color comes down, goes kind of like that, and then it comes back down this leg. So this is our lightest, warmest spots. Even these hind legs that are peeking out of the tail here, I can go ahead and paint those. And then I do want to leave the tail tip white. Another spot that I'm going to lift a little bit of paint off with a clean brush is this haunch that's all sunlit and blonde. So I just, with a clean brush, just go back in, pull it off, and then clean your brush. How's it look on your computer? This looks so bad on
It looks
my...
very golden.
Very golden.
Yeah.
But
Well, relative to the purple snow, it really is.
the color's really deepen once it dries a bit.
Yeah.
Partly because of shine from the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's getting a little bit of glare.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can see on my sample, these are the first two colors that we used. And then I added this orange that's here. And then this burnt, I'm calling this burnt sienna, this brown that's in the center over here. So either a cadmium orange and a burnt sienna we want to add to the, if you need to make more, I'm adding it to the yellow. So we have 4 colors in here now. This yellow ochre, this cadmium yellow, this orange, cadmium orange color, and burnt sienna. Until you have a chest, like an orangey. This is all going to be quite vivid until we tone it down. But okay, now with this, we need to get a little more particular about where we put it. Because now we're starting to build color and leave some places lighter. But we can safely put this all on the belly here, even though this center of the belly is all lit up. So I'm still just avoiding that mask. Definitely this dark spot on the corner of the shoulder that's down under his chin. And then coming down towards the tail. And then down even this dark dark leg here. This really comes around here, doesn't it? It's nice and chestnutty on his back up here. Coming over onto his butt. We've got this side is in shadow. Now he gets a little grayed out back here, but I'm going to go ahead and put this here. And I'm leaving this light to match this light, but I'm going to blur it with a clean brush. Remember when we put some paint and then we took a clean brush and we pulled? I'm going to blur that together so that I don't have a hard line like I have right there. And then he's got a nice little chestnut section coming down the middle of his tail. And then it kind of extends out. It's random. I'm being a little bit inconsistent with my brush strokes, or like suggesting texture. Let's see what we need on the face. We're definitely chestnut on the top of the head, the back of the head, like behind the ears. Definitely under the eyes here on the mask area. Although this side, the left side is more in shadow than the right side, but still it's not yellow. It's definitely got color. And then on the forehead. And then using a clean brush, I'm going to pull my colors around so that it's not quite so definitive. Is anybody that's painting having an issue that needs attention?
The chat has been very quiet.
Okay. I'm going to put some darker colors in behind the ear fluff here. It's going to get even darker, but it's nice to start with something not too intense. Okay, here's a spot where my tree line went into this very light section of the ear. So I'm going to see if I can erase that essentially with a clean brush. We'll see what happens. Because that's a pretty important line there. So if I just add water and keep lifting, it should come up. There's something called misket, I think it's called. It's kind of a pain in the neck, but it's like a rubber cement that you can, like these spots that we want to keep white, you can paint it on there, and then at the end you rub it away and it lifts off. So like if you really wanted to have snow, you could dot.
It protects.
Yeah, or if we like in my pictures, I didn't really care about the snow on the tip of the nose, but if you really wanted to preserve that, then yeah. Okay, so now we need to make yet another darker color. Let's add 10, the purple shadow. Okay, I want to take my chestnutty color and I'm going to go even a little bit darker, get some of these darker areas by using more burnt sienna and this same dark brown that we put into the trees. It's kind of good to limit your palette and use the same colors here and there, because then the painting has it has an environment. It has everything relates to each other, and it doesn't feel like oh, where'd that chartreuse come from? Because that's how color works. It's everything reflecting off of each other. So I just intensified this by adding more burnt sienna, a little bit of the brown, and a little bit more orange. And then I'm going to look for places that need this dark color, like on the side of the butt here, on the edge of the tail. It's actually a slightly cooler color, but we'll go ahead and put it in there. I'm making kind of edgy paint strokes to help indicate that the fur has depth. Just right in here. Definitely where the face, this real dark spot down the center of the fox is where the head is casting shadow onto his body. So we want that to be really dark. So I'm going to go ahead and put this very saturated color in there for sure. And cast shadows can have sharper lines, whereas shadows that are more created by the form of something will have softer lines. So with a clean brush now, I'm softening some of these areas together with what was already there. Oh, I need to get this hind leg down here. Go ahead and get this very dark. And then I see right off the corner of the eye, right on this side of the muzzle. That's about it. A clean brush can always come back in and lift or save you when you need it. I'm just putting some, softening some contrasty areas here. I dripped water on my shadow and now I have a water spot on my shadow. So we need to make our snow shadows a little bit darker. So while the fox is drying, or these areas are drying, I'm going to do that, just softening this a little bit. How are we doing on time? Good. Okay. Okay, I still have the puddle that I made for the snow. Probably needs a little bit of water. So I'm using this cobalt, like this bright blue and purple. And then this time around, we're going to glaze it with a little bit of the fox color. All right, I need a bigger brush. Going back to my big brush because we're covering ground here. So I'm just going back over what I did to deepen it. Like I said, I don't like trying to, I like to layer my paint, my watercolors, and get the colors right as I go. So I'm just trying to dance some colors in here. A little bit of variation is okay. Basically going back over what we already put down. Definitely making sure to leave the whites white on the fox. Okay. To soften the color, I'm going to get some burnt sienna, this brown in the middle over here, and a little bit more blue, a little bit more brown, and then I'm just going to take this muted color and go over these purple colors, and it's just going to tone it down. And this warmth in here represents the sunlight that is peeking through here and there. I can even take some of my super saturated fox color and drop it in, especially on the cast shadow from the fox, because that would definitely have a lot of the fox color in it. But other than that, I want to keep it on the thin side and just glide it over. What's already here. And I'm even letting it go over some of the white areas so that it's not so pure white.
So how do you deal with the dot?
I don't know.
The water dot.
This is a water dot's a tough one because
It made the paint move.
It made the paint move, yeah. So I feel like that's nice. It's all just softened. I'm going to take a little bit of my fox orange and just like pretend like the sun is hitting a few spots here.
The dot kind of makes me think of like if there was a mote of dust on the lens of the camera.
I know, right? It's very glaring at the moment. Well, hopefully you guys are well on your way to something that looks like a fox in the snow. It is tricky. Like, if you have a clean, wet brush or water drops, it is going to affect the painting. But sort of getting familiar with watercolors, it's a lot like getting familiar with the wool. When you let it do its thing, then you're really using the medium instead of trying to like over control it. So, you know, dropping color into wet areas and glazing and stuff like that, that's what makes watercolors, I think. Okay, so we need some details. We need more cast shadows on to the fox. And I really like to do that with purple. I'm wondering if it would be a good time to go back into the background one more time. I like the way this is really nice and dark. So I might do one more pass at that before we get into the details of the fox. So I'm going to go back into my dark background color, maybe mix a little bit more. Brown and blue. I'm going to go more with the brown and blue this time. See if I can make it a little bit less green. Actually, let's get some purple going too. Oh yeah, that's nice and dark. The darker this is, the more the fox is going to pop.
Practically black in the reference picture.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said your dad does watercolors. Is that how you learned all this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. That growing up, that's what I had around me, and then I started painting horses. Well, I always painted horses, but worked with a gallery painting horses. We went to Saratoga and set up the gallery, and went to the races and painted on the porch. And she was a funny person, and she was like, "Sarah, you have to. Serious equine artists use oils." I was like, okay. So I was, I had watercolors. I was like 26, 25, 26. And, oh my gosh, my first oils were terrible because with watercolors, I feel like you're always trying to get vivid, like saturation, like the medium is transparent. So you're always trying to, but oils are so vivid and bright. And, so my first oils were just garish. Like
Okay.
they were just, I had to learn, I was like, tone it down. But I eventually got there. Okay. While this is wet, I'm going to take up more of like a line brush and some of my fox color and draw some limbs in it and see if I can get like little interesting forest look going. But like I said, it's you don't want to be too you don't want to overwork this. This is not looking particularly lovely to me, but I'm just going with it. Trying not to go straight up and down all the time. I feel the need to disrupt it. Okay. I want to put a little warm glow over here, so I'm making sure that my brush is relatively clean, and I'll get some yellow ochre. Paint this so it's not white.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Hopefully nothing happens.
And then, what did you say?
Hopefully nothing happens.
Take a little bit of my orange. Oh, I guess it's UPS. So just get, like, there's some atmosphere back there. Oh, I like that. Mm-hmm. And put a little bit of that right here too. Like it's coming in there.
So nice.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, see, it looks good on the camera. That's my coffee. God damn it.
Your coffee was cold anyway.
At least it wasn't. It's worse with turpentine. Okay. All right, let's get into our little fox, and we're almost finished. This brush comes to a tip, but it's a relatively, it's going to hold quite a bit. Like it's got some substance to it. So that's what I'm going to use for some of these details on the fox. Now, part of our fox is in shadow. So the light's coming from here. It's hitting all along here, definitely hitting right there, hitting the sides of the face. Where the sun is not hitting is a muted, shadowed fox color. So the fox is the same color on this side as it is on this side. This fox is not two different colors on his butt, but this is in light and this is in shadow, which is why I painted these the same color. Now I'm going to glaze a purple shadow onto the sides of the fox that are not being hit by sunlight. So to do that, I'm going to use the colors that we use in the snow. Oh, whoops, that wasn't it, but that's okay. This blue and this purple. And it's going to look a little jarring at first, but trust me, it'll work. Okay, so there's some texture on his coat here. So the sun is like hitting some spots, but not all, not everywhere. So I would start a little bit textured, and then you can just start to brush. Now, because we have an underpainting and we made some darks and some lights, it's going to, just by glazing this purple over, we're still going to see those darks and lights. So this whole side of the tail is like in a shadow with a little bit of texture as it comes to the top. And then more texture down here. There is light at the bottom here, so I'm just hitting this dark side. And then this same color, we're going to put the shadow under the white part of the fox's mask. So there's a little bit over here. There's the muzzle, just leaving that one white spot that I circled earlier. This actually is all in shadow. And all of this down here is in shadow. This is in shadow. We've got a shadow right here. This side of the ear. Okay. Now with a clean brush, I want to just disrupt these sharp lines a little bit. And I want to lift reflective light. Really makes you feel like an artist. So with a little bit of that sky color, that warm yellow, ochre, and orange, I'm going to lift some purple back out to show the reflected light off the snow on the bottom of his face. And same with right over here. So that is a really fun process. Okay, this cast shadow in the middle here is very dark, so I'm going to actually increase the saturation of my purple for that, and I might even end up dropping some brown in there, but for now, let's just get this purple going. So I'm talking about this really dark section. It's got one little bit of light peeping through there. It's narrow right off the face here. And this actually, you can see if you look closely where the shadow from his chin cuts across his leg. So it makes almost a horizontal line right there. And then to really deepen that, I'm going to get some of our brown that we've been using, this number 11. Just put it in there. Whoops. And you can dance it around wherever else you see that it's very dark. Some little tips on the tail fur. Definitely this back leg is mainly in shadow. I tend to avoid the face when I teach. All right, we need this really nice dark color for the ears. So I'm getting as dark as I can, pretty saturated. I'm using that last background tree color that we made that was like blue, purple, and brown. Like I said, I really prefer that to going into black. So he's got a dark ear section right on the edge of the ear here. And coming around this ear. And coming off of it just a little bit. And then super dark little tip to his nose. I'm going to try to leave that snow tipped nose, see if I can do it. And I need to get a real saturated orange into the eyes before I put the dark on it, so I'll work on that next. I'm gonna put a little bit of this dark on his legs.
Someone said you also avoid toes when you're needle felting.
I love this light purple and reflection that we did under the face, and I need to do a little bit of that in the tail. So I'm putting that purple, lighter purple color into the tip of the tail a little bit, and then I'm going to clean my brush and drop some of the warmer tones in there. Just leaving this one section white. Okay, let's get a nice vivid orange, just straight up cadmium orange, and paint the eyes. I'm just going to paint the whole eye, and then I'll go in with black. I'm not getting super detailed here with you know, sparkles and all that kind of stuff. But we do have to let that dry. And while you have that on your brush, if you see anywhere else that you can get a little more saturation, then go right ahead. I feel like I need to get this dark purple into the ear centers. This is a little weird and heavy, so I'm going to lift it out with a clean brush a little bit. I want a little more gray in the tail here. I feel like he's got some gray coloring, so I'm just taking that background color and putting it in there. Same with the side, this far side. It's got gray coloring over here. To keep, I've painted this several times now, but I would like for you to keep looking at your reference picture and adding with intent layers that you see that need, whether it's more saturation or something lifted or a slight shift in color. Right now, I still have a lot of yellow on his face, and I want to tone that down. It's a little bit too yellow. It's nice to have it under there. So I'm going to get some cadmium orange. Now, I haven't really used red, but I might add this next color over, which has it's almost like a light cadmium red, because I'm trying to counteract the yellow a little bit. So I'm going to put that on there to lift this up. And not so much darken it, but just glaze over so that it's a little bit more peachy and not quite so yellow. That feels better. Okay, I think my eyes are dry. So with that dark background color, mostly it's brown and purple. And I'm gonna roll my brush so that I get it just like really nice little tip. Like I said, this is not a teeny tiny brush. You could switch to a smaller brush, but I like to work with the biggest brush possible so that you're not like scraping paint on. You want to have plentiful paint flow. And all I'm going to do is outline the eye and put the little center. Not doing much more detail than that. Man, my eyes are going. I cannot see. I see a gray spot right there. See a gray spot right there. This is not as good as when I just sit and paint by myself, but I'm pretty happy with it. I'm putting some purple, trying to get this to look a little bit more like the picture. Any questions?
No, it's like I'm guessing people are just working.
Yeah, I've got a deep burnt sienna or chestnut color on my brush, just trying to get a little bit of these changes on the face going. I feel like this is this super, it is like a strong line, but I feel like I need to lift some of this face color out of here. It's bugging me how it looks, doesn't look furry, it looks like cut off.
We're really still here, just concentrating on everything you're doing.
Okay. I don't like the way this looks like cut. You know, do you know what I'm saying?
The neck?
Oh, I know what he needs. He needs these little... This floof on the side of his face looks like...
Oh, okay.
Remind me not to drink my coffee.
He needs floof.
Yeah, it needs floof. And I don't like the angle of my eye, so I'm gonna change that a little bit. He's a little angry fox. I gotta soften that up a little bit. Poor guy. Also, I think this is in shadow and I have it lighter than it should be. That's better. All right. Tell me from your point of view what you see that it needs.
I think it looks
Besides
great.
the spot.
Oh, I do see the spot. I
It's a little colder than this one was, like a little bit warmer. Let me zoom out so we can see everything. Okay. Reference picture. Other fox. I don't know. I feel like it looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's little dark little lines on the sides of his muzzle. Let me get those. Just where his like whiskers and you don't know. Is it the edge of his mouth? You don't know. Doesn't matter. Just only paint what you see. Like, you're not trying to paint features that you know a fox has, but he's too small and far away to see, so.
I mean, between the two, you have a larger light spot on the one that you just did on the
Yeah, on
hip.
this guy. Yeah. So maybe a little orange coming down. A little bit of this. Anybody else want to weigh in? A little bit of this coming down, like here. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, it's really good though.
No. I like I said, I'm kind of like blind at this point, so I am definitely open to or questions like, oh, mine's doing this. What do I need to do? Or I did get a little leg color into
It
my.
always amazes me that a flat medium is essentially an optical illusion to make you think, you know, you're seeing something three-dimensional.
Yeah. That is the challenge for sure. How to do that, you know, how to create depth, contrast, color,
Diane said you're a real Bob.
distance.
No, you're a real Bob Sarah. As in,
A
like,
real Bob
Ross.
Sarah.
See if I can lift out my pencil marks. Feel like I am going to get a slightly thinner brush and see if I can get these eyes just a little bit more detailed. This was really fun for me and I want to do it all the time, and
But you own a needle felting business and you have other stuff you need to do. You could paint all the time.
yeah, could we just switch gears? No, we could do it all. I want it to feel doable, accessible. It's a little uncomfortable. It's a little uncomfortable for me every time I paint. Like I never know, you know, if I'm gonna succeed or not in the sense of making something that I'm proud of. I mean, we always succeed in learning no matter what, but so yeah, get out of your comfort zone, keep trying, especially with the drawing. I know that is the sticking point for a lot of people. I can't draw, but as you saw, I measured it all out. I kind of mapped it out, which is all you have to do. It is a good thing to practice and try to do, meaning the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And I like to draw versus rely on tracing, but I have done that, and there's tons of tools, especially now with the apps, to help you get your reference image in a way, viewed in a way that helps you see it, whether it's making it black and white or putting a grid on top of it. What's the name of that app I was using?
Mary Marin said everything you're doing today will help me with my wool paintings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's this. I mean, what compositionally makes the painting, like what's good in composition, contrast, color, that's universal to any medium. You know, it's just then it's the medium, understanding the medium. I wanted to tell you guys about this app. I think it's iColorama. Let me find it. I haven't used it in a while, so I forget what it looks like.
I mean, she could upload the photo to like Imager or any other image hosting site, and then put a link in
Oh,
chat.
I know what Imager was. I'm gonna
Oh, I don't know
relink
about-
the Facebook group because they'll be able to share pictures in there.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a while, so it's iColorama, and there's all like if you take one of your pictures and put it in, then you can manipulate it in all different kinds of ways, and it can help you with your drawing in preparation for painting or needle felting. But yeah, tons available to us now. So the Facebook page is called Sara Renzulli's Paint Puddle.
I just linked it again.
Okay, good. So a group of artists is called a puddle. I don't know if you know that.
I never knew that.
But it is now, and that is where we can share and ask questions and critique and, talk about materials. I haven't, on Fanfare, we don't allow like outside links and sales and stuff, but not exactly sure all of the rules of this group yet. I do want it to be original content. I don't like seeing links and shares of stuff like people are like, oh, inspirational pictures, and like we can all find that on our own. I like a group to be contributing original content, so I'll figure out how to word that and what the parameters of the group are. But I would like to start using it as a place to explore drawing, painting. I just did a little art journal thing. I'm going to sign up for my employee Jenny's art journal class. It starts in January. She is Jenny Davies Reeser. Maybe I still have it open.
She's on.
I got it.
On
I
our
got it.
Artists We Love page as well.
She's on the Artists We Love page. It was a little tricky to get to the class. So yeah, oil painting. Pastels are actually my favorite. So yeah, if you enjoyed this or enjoy it, if you do it after the fact, then I hope that we'll do more and that we can do some different mediums. The watercolors are great because it's a minimal investment. Things like pastels and oils can start to add up. So this is just easy cleanup, very accessible, can do it in real time. And I'd say acrylics are probably my least favorite, although if I do more like collage and art journaling type stuff, then I could see needing some acrylics because oils just dry so slowly. So I'm pretty happy with my fox today. I can't wait to see what you guys make. For now, if you're in Fanfare, you can share it there, but I do want to move to the other group. And
I'm linking Jenny's blog.
okay, I just did as well.
Oh.
Yep, that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any questions before we sign off? I really appreciate you guys joining in today. I hope you enjoy making your fox and that I was explained enough. It's a little, when you get into painting, there's just like needle felting, there's like 1,000 tiny decisions. So it's hard to explain everything, but hopefully we covered enough and broke it down enough for you to try. And then try again. Like I said, I've painted this 4 times now. So the first one being not so great. Where is he? Under here, maybe.
It's not. Is it?
Oh,
That's the
yeah,
hair.
there it is. This was an idea as well. But yeah, the first one was little slapdash. Then I just kind of evolved it. But this was in a rush at the end of the day. I was like, I just need to paint something. So this has a much sort of looser feel. It's still a cute little thing, but. And then this was fun. Just again, needing to paint. So thank you so very much. And I hope we can do it again soon. Definitely a lovely wintertime activity and distraction. Anybody asking anything?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. We'll see you soon, one way or another.